In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the 5 players I believe will leave West Ham this summer. Now, we know this window we have to sell before we can buy. That has been drilled into West Ham fans' minds, and we have sold one player, that being Mohamed Kudus, but we've also released 5 players on free contracts, potentially with the 6th if Mikel Antonio does not re-sign. So that does mean that West Ham are going through a bit of a shake-up this summer. Very quickly, I just want to say I'm not advocating for these players to get sold in the sense of I don't think they're good at football. I don't think they should be making a living off football, because that is wrong. I fully am in this video putting it under the context that these guys are going to get moves that are still going to allow them to, play football at a good level and make good money. I would never want to wish that on a player. I think anyone that does, no matter how good the quality of the player, I think it's bizarre to suggest that they shouldn't still be making a living from football. So with that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the most likely to the least likely in this video. There's 5 players, and I'm not saying all 5 of these should leave, but I think these are the players that would have the least impact on the squad if they were to leave. This isn't like the most 5 valuable players, because if so, Jared Bowen, Wan-Bissaka, Lucas Paqueta, if he doesn't get banned, would be in the top 3, and they're not in this video. I'm not suggesting we sell those players. So what I'm going to do in this video is talk about their time at West Ham, why I think they're going to leave, and are we going to turn a profit on them? And with that being said, the first player we got on the list, and the player I am most confident will leave West Ham, will be Emerson. Now, very quickly, Emerson, love him. I think Emerson's really good. One of the most surprising players in my time being a West Ham fan, in the sense of when we signed him, it was coming off the back of Cresswell beginning to, get a bit older, maybe not being able to run down the left side as quickly before we would transition him into a left centre-back. And we would have Emerson as our main left-back. When we signed him from Chelsea, I was just a bit like, this is the option? Really? This is the guy? But he was sensational, especially in that run in the Europa Conference League, but all through Europe, really. And especially in the last season of David Moyes with him and Paqueta on the left side. That was a great little run they had. We knew they got on together from their time at Lyon, but just seeing them play together, it was magic. Those guys were our main creative output in that season. Then the season afterwards, we would bring in Mohamed Kudus, and he would sort of play on the left side, and Emerson was still good defensively, but his offensive output kind of dissipated. And then last season, he was still really good. He would share the minutes with Ollie Scholes. He may have struggled like our entire defence did, but he definitely got better under Graham Potter. Again, in line with how our defence got better. And to see him go is really sad, but I just don't see how he fits in, not only with, Ollie Scholes, but now with Malik Diouf. Where's the minutes going to come from? I would love him to stay, but in this sell before you buy, situation we're in, and also in the interest of him getting minutes and playing football, it sort of wouldn't be fair to keep him, because I just don't see how he fits in, unless you're going to loan Ollie Scholes out, which I know Graham Potter probably isn't for. So probability is that he'll leave. I hate saying this, but he's a player now that can leave, and I don't think on the pitch we would feel the impact. There wouldn't be a pinch. It wouldn't be oh god, how are we going to make up for Emerson because Malik Diouf and Ollie Scholes are there. That doesn't mean therefore we're going to miss his quality, because Emerson is really good, and we got him for a really good price. There are some players on here that, look, we ain't going to make profit. I don't know if Emerson would. I think the best we could do is break even. He is only 30, however he's going to turn 31 on August the 3rd, so he'll be 31. We signed him for 15.5 million euros. I don't think we'll make profit on him, but I think it will become very close. I think we can get something like 10 million euros, maybe with some add-ons, performance-based, that sort of thing. But I think for Emerson, that wouldn't be a bad deal, because you look at the years of service, what he did. He won us a trophy, and he was integral to that trophy run. Let's not joke around. He was an integral part of that. And also the goals in the Premier League, some of the moments, the effort he put in. That goal against Arsenal last season in that horrible home game, but that free kick was still really good. That's the thing. Emerson is a sleeper player for West Ham. I think people will look back on his time and go, oh yeah, he was really good. But I think he'll probably be the one that will be one of the first to go. As soon as a sensible offer comes in, it won't take the board much convincing to accept it. Next up is Guido Rodriguez. Now, when Guido Rodriguez was signed, it was again one of those players I didn't know, I hadn't really heard about. But I was rather excited, free transfer of a well-experienced player. That could be useful. And it's not really worked out for him, has it? There's always this whole stigma around adapting to the Premier League. The pace of it's so different. And I think there is not a player that makes that more clear than Guido Rodriguez, in the sense of he just struggled He really struggled. I have no hate towards Guido Rodriguez here, because every footballer, I believe, wants to play in the Premier League. I think it's part of the DNA of a footballer to play in all of the top 5 leagues, but certainly the Premier League. And he had the opportunity to, and it just hasn't worked out. He's just so slow, isn't he? And he got caught out a few times in some deep areas. He got better as the season went on, but you can tell you can't rely on him in the midfield in the Premier League game. In the Cups, sure, I reckon if we were in Europe, he would be fantastic. But we're not. That's the thing, is that I think with us playing Premier League week in, week out, yes, we have the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, but only the first few rounds are likely to have lower competition, and even then, that's not guaranteed. We would set a profit on him because it's a free transfer, even if it's 2 million. I think you've just got to accept that, yeah, his stock is low right now. I also think he would welcome the move. I don't know this for sure. Obviously, the rumours are rife. There was a thing last season of him wanting to go back to Betis, and if it worked for him there, I know he didn't re-sign. If he wants to go back, the bridge can't be burnt with the Real Betis fans, unless he's out of touch, but I don't assume he would be. I think if Betis or someone else come in for him, whatever the money is, I reckon we'll accept it. And again, that is a profit, but it's also a sad transfer, because I never like players that just flat out don't work, because it is obviously tried. I mean, I have now seen the pre-season friendly game against Grasshoppers, and did he wake up on the wrong side of the bed or something? Because he wasn't playing it like a pre-season friendly game. Bless those players, they probably were not expecting that level of tackling. Yeah, it's just a transfer that's unfortunately not worked out, and I don't see how he would fit in, especially now with Potts and Earthy and Orford ready to come off the bench. I don't see Graham Potter picking Rodriguez off the bench over those younger players. Next up, number 3 is Maxwell Cornet. Interesting that he started the first half of the pre-season friendly, and do you know what? I like that from Graham Potter, because to me, it shows that, as I mentioned in my last video, he's got no preconceptions. He's willing to let people prove themselves and get into the system and work. And this is just based on the fact that Maxwell Cornet hasn't worked out yet. This is why he's number 3. Last season would have been number 1 in this video. 100%. It would have been number 1, just getting gone. Now, I don't know. I'm confused. We signed him from Burnley for 20.7 million. And if we were to sell him now, we wouldn't get our money back. And if we were to sell him next year, we wouldn't get our money back. Only because of the injuries. He's very injury prone, and it's just such a shame we're in the sell before we can buy period, because I reckon give Maxwell Cornet a chance as a backup. The winger position is, I think, is a position we don't need to fix. I mentioned in the previous video, we got Bowen, Guilherme on the right side, you got Somerville and Cornet on the left. There you got Paqueta, hopefully if he stays, that can play on the left as well. We've got options. Cornet, I think, could be a decent player. We've seen it. And then just got that injury, and then he went off to France, didn't he? And boys weren't happy about it, and then he never came back, and then he went to Genoa, and that was that. And apparently Genoa are interested, but that's called off, and now no one's interested. So who knows? I certainly wouldn't loan him out again. I'd certainly keep him at the club, unless we're going to sell him, because I think give Potter a chance to help him. Raise his stock a little bit. Even if he comes off the bench in the Premier League, scores a couple goals this season, the value he has goes up. Even if it's by a couple million, it still goes up. You don't need to convince me there's a good player there, because we all know there is deep down somewhere. Hopefully he's not lost in the injuries, because when we signed him, I was actually really excited. I was like, this is a decent get from the Championship. Like when we got Crescencio Somerville. Like it's a similar signing. It's weird, right? It's like Cornet was Somerville before Somerville. And Somerville's not worked out, Cornet's not worked out. We both had injuries. Put them together this season, see what happens. Oh, and again, this is the annoying thing with the sell before we buy culture, because realistically, we don't need to sell that many players, because we've already got rid of a lot of the older players that are out of contract who needed to move the squad on. We just needed to replace those players in some form, which we've already done with the 2 fullbacks we've signed. So when you think about who we need to sell, there's not many of them that we can sell. And this, to me, is one that you can get a bit of money on. There's no profit out of this. So I would keep him, but I also have a feeling he will leave. But again, there are good signs that Potter must like him, because he played him in the first half against Grasshoppers with the stronger team. The stronger team in the first half, and he played Cornet in that, which I thought was interesting. I think he played well. He looked decent. The 4th player I've got on the list, and this might break your hearts, it's certainly going to break mine if it happens, Andy Irving. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a big fan of Andy Irving. First of all, I like what he represents. I'm going to put that out right now. Somebody, right, who didn't even get an announcement video. The club just bought him randomly. He just showed up one day. And he's worked his absolute arse off. And you can tell that, and he really wants to make it work. I believe he mentioned after the Chelsea game, which I think was his only Premier League start. I could be wrong though. Him and his girlfriend moved down to London to make this work, to make the dream of playing in the Premier League happen. And he's actually looked bright. I'm not going to deny, he doesn't look like a world beater or anything, but for someone we signed under €2 million, he looks like a bit of decent business. Is it right place, wrong time? Because again, with the 3 academy lads coming in, with Harvey Elliott potentially coming in, with Tyler Morton coming in potentially, James McAtee, I know we're not going to get all of those, but we're looking at midfielders is my point. Who would be the first domino to fall? I think it would be Andy Irving. This is the one that would hurt the most because I think he should be given a chance just based on merit, and I know that's not how football works, right? But every time he has come on the pitch, he has given it his all. The fans have noticed that. We have resonated with it. He is the epitome of what a West Ham player should be. Like when Ethan Bazinga was talking to Carl Walker-Peters in his interview, and he said, if you give 100%, the Hammers fans will give you 100% back. That is Andy Irving. Andy Irving is one of those players. Because he's one of those players as well that I don't think any of the fan base understands. When we mention Andy Irving, they kind of laugh, they chuckle, they go, who is this guy? But until you see him on the pitch, and you see what he's about, and you see that how he's acquitted himself, how Potter says in training he's always the person doing all the extra work. Because he wants to make this dream happen. So I don't want this sell to happen. The only reason I think it might is because it's easy profit for the club, and in this sell before we can buy system we've got at the minute, I reckon he could be the first domino to fall. But I don't want it to be the case. I really don't. I really hope he still gets chances next season if he is here, because I don't think he's good enough to start for West Ham in the Premier League week in, week out, but he's certainly a good squad player. And certainly, like those games we saw against Chelsea, he wasn't bad. And given that his first Premier League start at Stamford Bridge, when we were injury riddled, I think that was Bowen's first game back. You've got to give the guy credit for putting in 100% effort. So for me, Andy Irving would be easy profit, probably likely to go, but don't sell Andy Irving. So who is the last player on the list? Well, I was deliberating between 2, I'm not going to lie to you, but the one I decided on was Edson Alvarez. I think he will likely go, again, only because he's got some value behind him in the midfield, and we've got a lot of players that can play a sort of position. I'm not saying I'm a fan of Edson Alvarez going, but I think he's one of the only midfielders with good market value that we would be willing to sell. I think, again, the likes of Souček and Ward-Prowse might have the best market value. I'd also reckon that Potter likes them. I quite like both of them. And I think the value you would get from selling them would not equal the value you get from them being on the pitch. Lucas Paqueta, I'd say, if possible, is the only player that in the midfield that is off limits entirely, unless he wants to leave, which obviously there are reports he wants a fresh start. And if that is the case, fair enough. Get it. I'm not going to begrudge the man for wanting to get a fresh start. Just get out of here and go again and just restart somewhere new. But Edson Alvarez, we signed him for €38 million. Would we get that back? It's hard to say, isn't it? Because he's really not a bad player. But I think West Ham would automatically go, no, he picks up too many yellows or this and that. But realistically, he's not done anything wrong. He's been incredible for us at times. He's never really put in a bad performance that's terrible. He's not been on a 5-game run of just horrible performances. You could say the squad has, and therefore his performance has dipped because of that. But there's not been a game where you've gone, Edson Alvarez is the only person at fault for this. That hasn't happened. So I don't know what we would do about Edson Alvarez, actually, in terms of the value. I think we would get a loss. I don't see how we get €38 million for him. He's going to be 28 in October. That's still a good age for a midfielder. You can still get a good 4 years out of him. So we do have leverage in that sense. It's so weird with this whole we need to reinvent the squad thing, because when you look at it in individuals, you actually go, these players are good, this is alright, this ain't bad. Because when you put them together as a whole, it doesn't really work out. But for me, Edson Alvarez, I think, is the 5th most likely player to leave. The only reason I don't see it, above the others is because I think there is potential for him to work under a Potter system. Once Potter's got the team playing the way he wants to play, I think Edson Alvarez could easily fit into his squad, either as that ball-winning midfielder, even a centre-back in a back 3, which Edson Alvarez has played. I think his versatility does suit Graham Potter, and I hope it works out. I'm a big fan of Edson Alvarez, but again, it's the value for me. It depends how much the club really want to make the money, and also what kind of club comes in for Edson Alvarez. I think that'll be the kicker, won't it? If it's a club that he'll really want to go to because they've got Europe or they're a big club, he might go. If no big club's going for him, I think he'll be happy to stay. He's definitely someone that always gives his all on the pitch. And there you go, guys. That is the 5 players I think are most likely to leave West Ham this summer. But let me know in the comments below, am I wrong? If you guys could like, comment and subscribe, that'd be really appreciated. You guys have smashed it over the past week. I even went away for the weekend and the channel grew, so thank you guys so much. And also thank you guys so much for all the support on the short form content as well. Go check out the TikTok, it is linked on the YouTube. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next video, which will be tomorrow. I don't know what it's about yet. Maybe some news will drop, and maybe I'll have to rush to make a video. For all the latest news, there will be short form content anyway, so don't worry. Keep your eye on the channel, have notifications turned on, so you don't miss any news as it drops. But until next time, guys, see you later. Have a good day.